How Minnesota manages the increasingly diverse younger population has implications for the future economy of the state. And joining me in the studio to provide his point of view on the changing demographics is Senator Eric Pratt of Prior Lake. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Educational disparities have been broadly reported in Minnesota. Considering the changing demographics, the increase in diverse population, do you think addressing these problems is best done at the school board level or the state level or both?
I think it's both. And what we as a state need to do is figure out from a policy standpoint, what can we do to enable our local boards to enact and really put into place programs that will increase teacher diversity or meet the needs of diverse populations. Because when we talk about diverse populations, they're not the same. In my district, I have a large Hispanic and Russian population. In some other districts, we have Somali. In some other districts, we have your traditional African American populations, and they all have different needs. And so I think trying not to micromanage at the state level, but to allow local boards to meet the needs of their communities is most important.
Some students enter school with language barriers. They come from other cultures. They have to learn English on top of the regular curriculum. What kinds of concessions should be made? How should we address getting them up to level without putting them in special education or separating them, keeping them inclusive?
That's a really good question, and it's a very difficult one to take, because even in a small district like Prior Lake Savage, I guess not so small anymore, but when it was small, we were having to address over 70 different languages of students coming in. And so it's not as if you have a large cohort that you can kind of bring together through one wave, but you're really addressing the individual needs of the students with a teacher that may or may not be able to communicate in that language. We've got some terrific nonprofit partners. Down in my area, we have one called the Shakopee Diversity Alliance, which is working with the schools and families to help with that communication barrier, not only just from the language aspect, but from also the cultural aspect. Because when these people come, when we have people moving into our communities from other countries, the cultures, what they expect from schools, how they push back or advocate for their children is different than it was in their home countries. And so I appreciate the work that they're doing, and I think we've got to have more of those public nonprofit partnerships.
So that kind of leads to the question about, cultural competency. With so many different cultures coming together in the classroom, do you think that there should be an increased emphasis among teachers for cultural competency-based training so that they can pull from different types of learning, types of languages, types of cultures, and bring it all together? Do you think that's a positive step?
I think it is positive. I'll take my experience from the business community, where we're doing a lot of training on, for guys my age, how we deal with the younger generation. Managing millennials is a whole lot different than managing the Generation X guys that I am. So it doesn't matter how you're, what group of people you're talking to. If there's a difference in experience, then you've got to be able to communicate in that way and understand what motivates someone. I mean, that's basic management. That's basic business. Along that line, I also think we have to look at our curriculum and allow school boards the flexibility to, and that's why we put school boards in charge of curriculum, and that's why I've been fighting to have fewer state mandates, because I want kids to see themselves in their curriculum. I want it to connect with them. We can have basic American history, but if we can supplement that with, in Minneapolis, let's say it's African American history. If we can supplement that with talking about the struggles of immigrants in past decades or centuries, I think that helps kids link experience and education and really shows the importance, and it gets them interested enough to continue forward.
So you'd like local school boards to actually be able to shape the curricula a little bit more than maybe is currently the standard. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, I think they've got I think local school boards have great breadth in what they can do today. What I don't want to do is tighten that by putting new mandates on them.
Okay. How can the state recognize that family incomes also have an effect in how kids do in school? Kids with lower socioeconomic background tend to not do quite as well as their peers who come from wealthier backgrounds. What can we do about that?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. First of all, it all starts at the family, and hopefully the family is supporting the children in their education. If the family's not supporting them, we're going to have a hard time getting that child to move forward and really value the education that we're providing them. I think part of it, though, is that we do, in fact, have failing school districts. And we've got kids who are trapped in these districts and with very few choices. And so I've actually been working on a plan that would allow kids in the lower economic stratuses where their schools are failing, more opportunities to move out, more choices. Because what we find is that it's great to say we have open enrollment and choice, but we don't address the barriers. We don't address transportation. We don't address special needs. All these things that maybe keep a child stuck in a failing school. And so if we can open up some of those opportunities for families to engage and realize that their child can be successful in school, and we can help them remove some of those barriers, then I think we'll see more effective outreach programs and more effective use of our open enrollment.
How important are pre-K programs in terms of getting kids ready for school, do you think?
I think pre-K programs are important. I put both of my children through pre-K programs. I don't think it's for every child. Every child matures at a different rate. But I think it's important, and I think it's important that parents find the right program for their child. If we have a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad, and they work with that child a couple of hours a day, I think that's terrific. If they want to put them in a center for a half a day or a full day, I think that's terrific. If they want to put them in, I've seen Scott County Family Child Care do some terrific things with curriculum as they're getting kids ready for kindergarten in a much more intimate space. And so we need to have those choices. You'd like to leave it up to the parents, though, ultimately? Ultimately, I think it has to be the parent's choice because no child is the same. Sure. Senator Pratt, we have to stop today, but thank you so much for joining me. Thank you. I appreciate it.